Say anglers, I'm going to give you guys a little glimpse of what Paradise Point looks like during the winter months. There's the roadside parking. There's the other roadside parking. There's the bottom parking lot. There's the top parking lot. Maybe everyone's down at the ramp. Let's take a look. Where's everyone at? It's lonely out here. Well, you can kind of see what's going on out here in the winter. Not a lot of people out here. And for the life of me, I don't know why. I'm thinking that if there's just one or two fish out on the river today that wants to bite, I'm going to be the guy to catch them. How can you not come out here when you think like that? Hey guys, thanks for tuning in again today. My name is Steve Cooper. You're watching In Deep on the Delta, and this is the first Delta fishing report for the year of 2021. I hope all you guys had a great new year, and I'd like to start off by thanking all of you who sent their best wishes for me last week after hearing about my cameras getting up and walking away. So you probably see that I am filming on a phone once again. But I'd just like to let you guys know that my new cameras are on the way. So hopefully in the next week or two, I'll be back to filming and getting a little bit back to normal. So today, we got a light report, but I have some really important information after we do our report that all Delta anglers will want to hear. So stay around after the report and I'll let you know what's been going on with me in the last week. I'm going to give you a tournament update from a tournament that I fished last week, and I've got some good information for you. I have not been out this week. I've been down to the water. I can tell you that the water is still about 48 to 50 degrees and it's probably 3 to 6 foot visibility. So we'll start off with hook, line, and sinker, and they have a very light report. Again, the largemouth bass report from hook, line, and sinker is there is just not enough activity out there for them to get a finger on what's going on. As far as the striped bass go, they're seeing a trend where most of the bass are coming out of the Sacramento Riverside, and there's a lot of fish that have moved up into the Feather River, and the Feather River is kicking out some big fish. So maybe this rain that came in and the fish that were out, they're pushing up, but a lot of them haven't come into the San Joaquin River, so striped bass fishing is slow. Now out at Outdoor Sportsman, again, very slow on the striped bass. There are a few guys going out for largemouth, but they're keeping their mouths closed, so either they're catching a heck of a lot of fish or they're not catching anything. Some of the guys from the shop have been out of Paradise Point, and they're catching a few fish. It's been slow. Their report was they were picking them up on shaky heads in about 8 feet of water, and their color was green pumpkin with purple flake, and that's about all the information that I can get out of the Delta. So still slow. It's going to pick up, so stay with us. When things start picking up, you're going to be the first to know on the trends that are happening, especially around February, when these things start moving in a better direction. I did talk to Clear Lake Bait and Tackle. Again, Clear Lake's pretty slow. They're starting to pick up a few big fish, either on swim baits or A-rigs. There's not a lot of fish, not a lot of people looking around for largemouth bass, so it's been tough up there. I don't think it's quite time to move up there or take a run up there from the Delta. It's just not worth it for largemouth bass. And they're waiting for the lake to go up in Clear Lake. It's down, I guess, quite a bit, and the fishing gets tough when the lake is down. So as soon as that water starts moving up, I think Clear Lake's going to have a big push and a big upward trend in the bite. They are reporting the crappie bite is starting at Clear Lake. So if you're one of the guys that like to go up there and fish crappie, that's starting, and they're thinking that that's just going to get better and better over the next few weeks. So Clear Lake, another tough bet, but it's on the upswing a little bit. Talked to John Liechty. He's up at Maloney's. He's also reporting a slight downward trend in his fishing, and he's guiding up there, so he's on the lake, maybe not every day, but he's on the lake quite a bit. They're still getting fish. Most of the fish coming from John's boat have been on jigs, and they're again in about 40 to 50 feet of water. John was also excited about getting a few swim bait fish. It's not on fire, but at least he's getting some followers and getting a few fish to hit and catching a fish now and then on swim bait. So although Maloney's isn't super on fire, it's still probably your #1 bet to get up and go up and catch some fish. With the Delta and Clear Lake being pretty slow, I'd head up to the mother lode. So with that, I almost forgot to add something. Along with the crappie in Clear Lake, I've been getting reports, and Outdoor Sportsman has been reported Whiskey Slough. There's been a lot of crappie coming out of Whiskey Slough on the Delta. I've also noticed a lot of people on the bank up and down 8 Mile Road, and I know some of those guys are catching crappie because I've seen their fish. So if you're a crappie guy, the Delta's starting to turn on, Clear Lake's starting to move in the right direction, so that's a little bit of a bump for us. So that is the report. It's light. Stay with us. Like I said, we're going to get some better fishing coming up. Now, I'd like to talk about a few things that happened to me and an evolving situation that's been going on with my luck. It's been about like this. And the reason that I wasn't up, or the reason that I wasn't out fishing last week in the Delta was because I had a big scare with my outboard motor. And everyone that runs a Mercury, like a Pro XS, that's what I'm running, but a 4-stroke Mercury, you're going to really want to hear this. I went to do my oil change and pulled the filter, drained the oil, and when I started draining the oil, I saw this caramel colored funk in the oil. As you can see, I'm showing a picture of what I took. And man, I about fell over. I almost couldn't breathe because I was sure I was headed for the worst. There was a cracked block, some type of gasket problem, a head problem, and I had water in the oil. So I took pictures of everything that came out of that motor. I kept my oil. I ran down to my Mercury outboard motor mechanic and I told him the full story. He took a look at everything I had, and thank God he looked at it and he said, "That's normal, don't worry about it." And I said, "Well, what is that? Why is that milky color in my oil?" He told me that that was normal condensation in the oil and that I had not been running my motor up to speed enough to get that oil heated up enough to kind of burn that light condensation off. So although it looked terrible, it's not a big deal. I drained the oil, I filled it up. He said, "Go out and run it again. You can check it and make sure nothing else is wrong." But he took a look at the oil that came out, and as you notice, it looks pretty darn normal. There's not water up at the top, so that's how he figured out there was no water in the oil, and it was just a matter of running it up to temperature. He suggested keeping it up around 45 to 5,000 RPM, running it, for 5 or 10 minutes so you can get that oil heated up, and that stuff would probably dissipate. Now here's the thing for Mercury outboard motor 4-stroke people. I had a problem, and you should learn from my mistake because it was my mistake. This is the 2-stroke, this is the 4-stroke. Put them side by side and they look almost identical. I ended up, my motor has 6.5 quart capacity, so I have to get 7 quarts. I got my 4-quart 4-stroke, dumped that in, got my 4-stroke quart, put that in. That gives me, that's 6 quarts. I needed a half a quart more. I thought I was dumping in my next 4 quart, and it's 2 quart. When I started pouring it in, I looked at it, it's a different color, and that's an easy mistake to do. The mechanic told me that if you have 2-stroke in a 4-stroke, you should drain the oil and just replace it with all 4-stroke oil. So my suggestion is be real careful when you go down. If you do your own maintenance and you pick it up, there's really no difference, no color difference or no font difference or anything. They look a lot alike, the Mercury oil. So just make sure you get 4-stroke oil if you've got a 4-stroke motor, or 2-stroke oil if you have a 2-stroke motor. So next on the agenda is real maintenance. and especially if you're fishing the Delta, you're going to want to hear this. So last week, I got 4 of my reels and I sent them in to Dan Isaac, who is my reel mechanic, and he is at Reel X Reel Repair, and I'll give you Dan's information here in a minute, but I want to let you know what I found out about my reels. So send them in. A couple days later, I get a call from Dan, and Dan says, "Hey Steve, it's not going to be just some oil and lubing and cleaning. I'm going to have to replace some parts. You got some saltwater damage in your reels." And at that point, I go, "Oh man, what's going on?" 'Cause these are my babies, and I'll tell you, all you guys that are bass fishermen, you know, you collect this stuff, you try to get good stuff, you take care of it, and especially your rods and reels. I mean, this is the heart of our existence if you're a hardcore fisherman. So I don't send these things out just to anyone. I trust Dan. I know him. I don't know him personally, but I know him as a businessman. He's taken care of my reels for many years. He's always done a good job, and his work is top notch, and he knows what he's talking about. So when he said I had saltwater damage, at first I said, "Hey Dan, are you sure you have the right reels? I sent you 4 Shimano Curados." He says, "Yeah." He goes, "I know you're down in the Delta, right?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You're fishing the Delta, you're fishing salt water, and you need to maintain your reels as if they were in salt water." And here's the deal. Dan sees hundreds of reels a month. This is his full-time deal. He's done it for 25 years. He knows what's going on. When he says there's salt in these reels, there's salt in the reels. And he sent me back, now I got a bag of parts here. Here they are. Sent me back all the parts to inspect if I wanted. And again, I don't challenge anything that Dan says when it comes to reels. But Dan spoke up and he said that the Delta is not salt water, but the salinity that's coming into the Delta from the bay, there's enough salinity in that water to damage your reels. He is suggesting that if you are fishing the Delta, every couple of weeks, you take these things apart and clean them and put a few drops of oil in the strategic spots. And we're not going to go over reel maintenance right now, but I'm hoping to get Dan on in a future show and talk to Dan and have him relay his knowledge and information and maybe talk about how you can quickly clean these and lube them on a weekly basis. But anyhow, so if you are fishing the Delta, just think your reels are being subjected to some salt content, and they should have more maintenance done on them. Now, to talk about Dan's business, it's Reel X. Reel X is the business, and it's express reel service. I will put a link to Dan's business in the remarks underneath the video description. And I'd like to give Dan a shout out because I think he's just done an excellent job for me, and I trust him above anyone else with my reels. This is one of the older Curado reels. It's probably 15 years old, and I use these things hard, and that's what they look like when they come back. You don't hear anything. You know, it's just they come back looking like new. So I can't say enough about Dan's good work, and if you do your own maintenance, that's great. If you're looking for someone to do some reel maintenance, Dan does a great job. His prices are reasonable, and I think you'll really like the service you get. Another thing that Dan's relayed to me, and I didn't think about this, but I think it's good to know because he said, you know, I've been doing this a long time. He says, and when people drive their car and they hear an oddball noise or a shimmy or a shake or the brakes are squeaking, they usually take it to a mechanic. Not so much with bass fishermen. They'll take a reel and they'll hear something going on. Maybe it's got some dirt in it. Maybe it's shimmying. Maybe, you know, it makes a funny sound when you cast it. Most of the time what he sees is people will run these reels into the ground. And then when they can no longer function, they'll send them in. He says that is a big mistake. Generally, if you hear something going on in your reel or it just doesn't feel as smooth as it used to, if you take it apart and clean it and lube it a little bit, you're going to be just fine. If you wait till you run it in the ground, you're going to have to send it in to someone like Dan or Shimano, and you may have some expensive parts to replace. So just another little bit of information from Dan. keep your maintenance up on the reels. If they're giving you problems, don't run them into the ground. Either take care of them yourself or send them to somebody that has some expertise on reel repair. All right, guys, last but least, I'm going to talk about a tournament that I fished last week, and it was the Wild West team tournament up at Shasta. I'd like to congratulate, Logan McDaniel and Ryan Williams. They won the tournament, and those guys did a fantastic job. Congratulations, guys. I wish I was in your shoes. You did a great job. They had I think they had 13.5 pounds of fish, and no one else in the entire tournament of, I think 185 boats or so, even broke 12 pounds. There was a handful of people that had 11 pounds. Most of the people were in a log jam about maybe 7 to 8 pounds, right in there. It was a 5-fish limit and a 12-inch size limit. But I have some information for you, that situation that happened to me that I'm not proud of. But I'm going to relay my situation, and maybe you guys can learn a little bit from it. We brought in a dead fish, and that's, I think, the second dead fish that I have ever brought into a tournament. So I was not happy with that. It was kind of embarrassing. The situation was, everyone knew we would be catching a lot of fish, but they were going to be small, so we would be upgrading fish throughout the day. We were catching our fish at 50, 60, 70 feet deep, and we were doing pretty well. We ended up with, I think, around 9.5 pounds, and we were looking for just that one more fish that we could have upgraded a little bit that would have put us in the money. Well, long story short, we were chasing these deep fish out deeper and deeper, and we actually caught fish up to 93 feet deep. And I caught a bass in 93 feet of water, which is a record for me because, as you know, being a Delta guy, that's almost 90 feet deeper than I usually fish in the Delta. We believe that it was one of those fish that we caught in that real deep water that perished on the way in. And I just want to say that we took the best care of the fish that we could possibly do. They were all hooked in the mouth, in the lip. None of them swallowed baits. We had a huge live well. The aerators were working perfectly. They were on timers. We fizzed every fish, and I mean, we handled those things like babies. We knew every ounce was going to count. When we left our last spot, all the fish were live. We were about 4 or 5 miles from the ramp, which is nothing in a boat that goes, 65, 70 miles an hour. That's a couple of minutes. Rushed in. We fished for about 5 minutes on a point just before we weighed in. Didn't pick anything up. We went to the launch ramp, or we went to the weigh station, opened the live one. We could see one of the fish was kind of turning over. We did a little bit to revive them. Thought we were going to be okay, but by the time we got our bags brought down and we brought the fish up to weigh in, they called the fish dead. And I hate killing fish. I don't care if it's in a tournament or wherever. I usually try to take care of my fish, and I'm a conservationist. I like to have those fish not only alive but in great shape, so when I release them, I know they're going back, and future generations are going to be able to catch fish out there. But the bottom line is, I made a promise to myself. I think any more after about 70 feet, I'm not going to fish for bass, because the deeper that you catch fish, the higher their mortality rate will be. Even if you take the best care that you possibly can, just be aware that when you're out there fishing even 40, 50 feet, you should fizz every fish, handle them with care. If you get out to that 70 feet of water and you're chasing them out there, just be aware you're going to have a mortality rate, and there's really not a whole lot that you can do about it. So I guess if you're fishing a tournament and you need those fish, go ahead and fish the deep water, but just be aware it's going to be tough when those fish belly up and you can't get them to swim right and they don't survive. So with that, guys, thanks for hanging in there with me. In the next couple weeks, I will have new cameras, so you won't have to be watching me on a phone camera, and we'll get back to filming the WTF series, and I know everybody's looking forward to 2021. Other than that, hey, I'm going to be uploading the pictures from all of you guys that have been sending in your best catch of 2020, so I think those will be uploaded onto my channel next Tuesday. And believe me, there was some toads caught in 2020. wasn't all a bad year. You guys did a great job. Some of you guys got some real toads out of the Delta. So thanks for sending them in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging in there with me. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And we'll be seeing you guys next week, or maybe if not before, if I see you out in the water. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.